We are now recording. Welcome, everyone. I am Brian Bolton, finance professor at UL Lafayette. I'm also the content expert for the UL system for this year and for last year too, which has been a blast. And our jobs as content experts are to create programs, resources, tools for the 9 universities in the system across specific topics. My specific topic is financial literacy. We have experts on mental health, open access resources, research, and online learning, 5 content experts. One of my big projects this summer has been this Money Matters Financial Wellness Series. Today we have session 13 out of 15. Financial planning for the fun stuff. Vacations, home improvements to vehicles, whatever else you consider fun. Spoiler alert, for those of you who've attended some of the other sessions, there may not be a ton of new material in this one, but what I've tried to do is kind of repackage it with maybe different messaging or more focused messaging. And the reason why is, for me, and I'm very biased because I spend so much time thinking about the planning part and how to think about the planning and talk about the planning. Planning for a new ski boat is not really that much different than planning for retirement. And a lot of what the difference is between our ears. It's not a math problem. It's not really a financial problem. It's not like they're, boat savings accounts to give you different boat interest rates. Some cases there are Costco or, airline points and some other things that tricks you can use or opportunities you can take advantage of. But for the most part, the financial planning component is the same. And it's just how we think about it and how we approach it. So having said that, I'll go through maybe some tricks or strategies that we can use to kind of help us differentiate between saving for retirement or building an emergency fund or some of the things that maybe aren't as sexy as a vacation or a new ski boat. And then begin thinking about how do we save for that vacation or boat. So that's what we're doing today. I am, again, Brian Bolton, finance professor at UL Lafayette. Brian.Bolton at Louisiana. Feel free to reach out to me after this session or anytime. Part of my job as the content expert, but part of my passion, I guess, is helping people figure out the finances. I've got a website, business.louisiana.edu/financespersonal. I chose that tagline because finance is personal. It's different for everyone. Personal finance is personal. We're all in different situations. We have different goals. We consider different things fun. And so you have to create a financial plan or a financial mentality that works for you. I can't impose that or give you a template that necessarily will be perfect for you. But it's my job to help you think about creating a template or an approach that works for you. So that's what we'll do today. We are in session 13, down at the bottom. Nearing the end, we'll finish up next week with sessions on investing and kind of navigating turbulent economic times. Uncertain economic times is maybe the appropriate word now. Maybe they're less turbulent than they were 3 months ago when we planned the series, but there's still turbulence and certainly uncertainty. But today we're talking about fun stuff, vacations, home improvements, new vehicles, and call it financial planning. A lot of what I'm going to talk about is kind of the mental behavior behind saving that facilitates saving for the fun stuff and finding the money for the fun stuff, prioritizing the fun stuff. And so, yeah, it's financial planning, but with the saving as kind of the key ingredient of that financial plan. Again, there aren't banks that offer, financial institutions that offer unique instruments necessarily for different goals. It's up to us to use the instruments and financial tools that they provide for our different goals. And so that'll be the focus today. All along, we're trying to get to happiness. We're trying to balance long-term, short-term goals. We talked about building emergency fund and savings accounts last week, I guess. That's our short-term goals. We've talked about retirement. That's our long-term goals. Throughout, we've got these competing pressures of family needs, financial needs, educational needs, career needs. But all along, we're focused on happiness. Whatever happiness means to you, to me, to anyone, whatever happiness means, let's get it. Let's go after it. Let's find it. And that's not necessarily, for some people, happiness might not be defined by a cushy, comfortable retirement. It might be defined by having fun this weekend. And I can't determine that. That's up to you to define your values, your goals. But the common theme, I think, through what I'm doing is trying to get to satisfaction, fulfillment, or happiness, however you think of that. So I said, finance is personal. It's about you. It's not about me. You have to make it about you and your goals. And one of the key mantras of today, I think, is it's okay to indulge. We all like, whether it's nice things or nice experiences or pleasurable experiences, a fun Friday, Saturday night, a new fishing boat, spa day, whatever, your food, whatever makes you happy. If you want to call it indulgence, that's good, right? We're okay with that. That's, for me, I work to be able to get money to be able to do things that make me happy. I spend a lot of my money, most of my money, on maybe the necessities, whether it's a roof over my head and food, or my vehicle. But I want the indulgence. I want the happiness. I want the good stuff too. And so indulgence is good. Impulse, not so much. And so when I think about financial planning for the good stuff, the key term is the planning, right? We want to identify our goals, identify the fun stuff, identify what we're working towards, and then figure out how to get there, right? Just as we would with college savings accounts for the kids, or a retirement plan for us, or our own emergency funds. Indulgence, good. To get all that you can. That's whether it's YOLO or whatever your mantra is. Indulgence for many of us makes life worth spending 1/3 of our life at work for, whatever the cliche would be. But when we get in trouble, certainly financially, we get in trouble when we indulge in things maybe we can't afford or we haven't planned for. And that's why I want to think about impulses being less good or bad. When we think about personal finance, some of you have seen this before, it's because it's personal, I can't really give anyone specific advice. However, there's one piece of specific advice that applies to just about everyone. Whether you're working on your finances, your plans, your fun stuff, whatever, and that's to save. The more we can save, the more freedom we have with everything else. I don't want to necessarily sacrifice in my saving, but I want to find ways to use the money that I earn efficiently and effectively to achieve my goals. And by saving, finding ways to save that have minimal cost to me, that helps me achieve those goals. We're trying working from savings to investing to ownership to wealth. Today, let's change ownership, investing, and wealth. Let's just change it to happiness. And how do we save to get to happiness? How do we save to get to the fun stuff? And so that's what we're talking about. Throughout this series, we start with our values, dreams, and goals. What are you trying to achieve? And, perhaps I'm to blame. I guess there's no one else to blame. A lot of our focus on values, dreams, and goals has been maybe more rudimentary or foundational parts of a financial plan, from retirement to budgeting to debt management. But most of us have dreams and goals that are different than that, right? The fun stuff. And so that's included. What are our dreams and goals? That's where we're trying to get to. We start with where we are, what's your current situation, then we create a financial plan based on that. As I said, because I'm the guy leading this, I've probably made the mistake of focusing on maybe the more boring, less sexy stuff. But we're trying to create a personal financial plan to get to happiness, vacation, new car, Saturday night, whatever. And we need to include those things, those goals, as part of our formal financial plans. And so that's what we want to think about today. Again, not really that much different than everything else we've been thinking about. All right, saving for education and retirement, they're not sexy, but we'd go about it the same way we would for a vacation or car or Saturday night. A couple weeks ago, I introduced these 7 goals as, or I guess throughout the series, we've been talking about some of these 7 goals in different contexts. A couple weeks ago, I talked about the 5 that are highlighted in yellow as tools for savings. And as we think about these tools for savings, these 5 are different ways of thinking about taking the money that we have and increasing effectively our cash flow or our discretionary income. And so that's where saving, financial planning for the fun stuff starts, is it starts with saving. And so as we think about these savings goals, the one thing that everyone needs to start with is spend an afternoon, weekend, whatever, pick a month and identify every penny that you spent, track it, know everything. And I'm a fan of doing this old school with pen and paper, or at least a spreadsheet. I'm not a fan of doing this with apps or online accounts telling you what your budget was, where my bank will give me a fancy pie chart that tells me I spent 37% of my money at the grocery store. That's really great and that's really convenient, but I don't internalize it. It makes it easy for me, but I kind of want this to be not easy. I want my budget tracking to be a little bit, if not painful, at least methodical or intentional. And that way I can figure it out and know what I'm doing. I can see my behaviors, see what habits I have, see how much I'm spending on coffee that I didn't realize. And from there, then I can categorize each expense as non-discretionary or discretionary. Non-discretionary stuff I have to have. Discretionary, less essential. That coffee every morning, maybe that's less essential. But when we talk about saving for the fun stuff, for financial planning for the fun stuff, we want to add an expense line for savings, right? We want to pay ourselves first. We want to make saving a priority, move money, however much it is, however much you can live without each month, from your checking account to one or more savings accounts the first day of the month. I'll come back to that one or more throughout this session. And when I was a grad student, I had very low income and really couldn't afford to save, or I didn't think I could. But on the first day of the month, I would still save. I would move money from my checking account to my savings account to develop the habit. Many months, I would move money back from my savings account to my checking account by the 20th or 25th because I wanted to eat food for the rest of the month. And I give the same example to the undergrads and grad students that I work with. It's not necessarily about building the savings when your income doesn't allow you to do so. It's about developing the habits. And so we want to develop those habits, get our mind accustomed to prioritizing what's important to us. And savings gives us options. Savings gives us freedom. Savings gives us flexibility. The more we're able to prioritize that, then we can prioritize, these options, opportunities, and the fun stuff. So this is the budget that I introduced for maybe a typical student a couple weeks ago. You see at the top line is $25 going to savings. Got rent, everything else. Normally we'd go through this, or a couple weeks ago when we did this, we categorized each of these as discretionary or non-discretionary. And you can debate some items, food at the restaurants, is that discretionary or non-discretionary? To me, dining out is a want, not necessarily a need. It's discretionary. Whereas grocery store, that's probably non-discretionary. That's probably the more essential. But even there, I can debate my impulse buys or stuff maybe I could live without there too. So for all of us, some things are going to be firmly non-discretionary: rent, school, phone bill, insurance. But even there might be some flexibility in where we could save and where we couldn't. But the key to this for today's session is that savings account, that $25 going to savings first day of the month. When I say take the savings account and move it to one or more accounts, what does it look like if we actually earmark the savings that we're doing for different goals? So here I've got $5 a month going to new clothes. I've got $10 a month going to summer vacation. I've got $10 a month going to a new car. Again, this budget is for undergrads or grads, maybe limited income, or maybe it's working professionals with getting stretched, relatively low income, and getting stretched in different directions. It's as much about developing the habit and the structure, the system for saving, as it is about building those massive amounts. The math doesn't lie. If you spend your entire life working 30 hours a week at a minimum wage job, which is what, $725 now, that's $200 a week, $10,000 a year. your ability to save is going to be limited. Your ability to invest or spend, indulge on the fun stuff is going to be limited. If your income is higher, then you obviously have more flexibility, right? And so as your income increases, you're going to be able to save and prioritize saving for different goals. The key to this is that mentality. I'm not just saving $25 for the sake of it. I'm saving $5 for clothes, $10 for vacation, $10 for a new car. That's all in your mind, right? The math is the same. My bank account, my net worth, it all looks the same, but it's in my mind. And we'll talk more about this in slides coming up. But what this does is in our brains, there's a little governor that won't let me move money from my new car account to my new clothes account. Obviously I can, it's an easy online transfer, it takes 30 seconds. But if we have this separation between accounts, then mentally it's a little bit more difficult. There's been 30 years of research on this and 2 Nobel Prizes won on behavioral finance and behavioral economics, and our minds are brilliant, maybe the most amazing thing on earth, but they're also a little wacky at times, and they can be fooled, they can be tricked. And so here we're just still saving $25, but we're saving it across 3 different goals, and that changes the dynamics. So as we're thinking about different goals, and we've gone through and we've identified where our discretionary spending is, can you decrease your discretionary spending by 25%? Can you look at the food you're spending at restaurants, the coffee you're spending, different subscriptions, entertainment, whatever else you're spending, can you decrease your discretionary spending? This is why we go through the budget or why I wanted to do it old school. Why I don't want my bank or my credit card to give me that pie chart telling me 37% at grocery stores. I want to see it, and I want to feel and internalize what I'm doing. And I see those 3 subscriptions. If I do this myself, I'm going to know what those 3 are, and I might know that subscription number 2 I haven't used in 18 months. And so right there's maybe a way that I can decrease my discretionary spending. Maybe you can't decrease it by 25%, but I bet you can find a little bit of slack in your discretionary spending to free up for other fun stuff. Now, again, this discretionary spending, this may be the fun stuff, right? This may be exactly what we're talking about today. The coffee, that may be what you define as fun stuff. Great, do it, keep spending it. Don't change that. But if you think that saving for a vacation becomes more important to you and your family than coffee or the movies, now we can make a shift. And you can move money from these discretionary expenditures into an explicit savings account for that vacation. Same thing with non-discretionary. This may be a little more difficult. So probably can't save most of us probably can't save 25% of our essential spending, but maybe we can decrease it a little bit. Maybe it takes a little longer. Maybe we have to change insurance carriers or phone carriers. Buying groceries in bulk. There's a certain point for most of us when getting that Costco card or that Sam's Club card membership does pay off. Certainly as your family gets larger, that $50, $60, $70 annual fee, whatever it is now, becomes a pretty good investment. So there's different tools, tricks, strategies we can use. And one of the challenges I'll introduce in a little bit that I got from a grad student with 3 teenage boys. Every January, she doesn't go to the grocery store. She and her family, she and her husband, 3 boys, they empty the freezer, empty the pantry. They've spent 11 months shopping and building, and come January, after the holidays, they go through the freezer and the pantry and just empty it out. So the grocery bill in January is close to 0. They'll do milk and perishables and such, but it's close to 0. And the 3 teenage boys, being the goofballs they are, by 20th and 25th of the month, they're kind of having fun, getting pretty creative with what's left in the freezer and the pantry. It's putting ragu on French toast or whatever the creativity may lead to. But these different challenges, if most of us can find money. That's the point. If once we prioritize the fun stuff, we can find the money one way or another. So as I talked about mental budgeting, behavioral economists have found that our minds are wacky. They work in weird ways. Having $10,000 in one account feels different than having $2,000 in 5 accounts. Same money, net worth is the same, bank account, the total looks the same. But if you assign a different purpose or goal to each account, as I said earlier, we'll governor in our brain that regulates it and makes it dedicated to that specific intended purpose. There are some banks that let us do this automatically. So if you've got one umbrella savings account, you can create little sub accounts. Most banks in the US do not allow this automatically. So you have to go in and actually create brother or sister accounts. So it's not, you're not starting from scratch because they already have your base checking or savings account information, but you'll just create a companion account basically. So it's a separate account, but relatively easy to create. And I've been doing this for 20 years. And that even though I know the science and I know the behavioral economics, and again, 2 Nobel Prizes have been won based on this, even though I know it's stupid, it works. And when I put $1,000 into my vacation account, I'm not moving it to my new car account. It just stays there. And so it works. So how does it look in practice? I get my paycheck on the last day of the month. It's Monday, right? Immediately UL Lafayette takes some contribution, puts it into my work retirement plan. So I've got that dedicated bucket. I've got the green bucket on the left. That's my kind of operating account where I'm going to pay some bills. Pay all my bills, hopefully. And then maybe I'll take some of that, whatever's left over, right? This is the savings line in my discretionary, non-discretionary budget. And maybe I move it into short and medium term goals, right? So instead of new car, vacation, new house as specific goals, maybe I set it up by time frame. And then I've got the long-term goals, and this is children's college funds, this is retirement, maybe a new house, it's longer term. And then if there's anything left over, maybe I transfer it from my savings into either an independent retirement plan or couple it with my work retirement plan. And so you can see, here we have 5, 6 different buckets, I count 5 buckets, and they all have kind of slightly different purposes. Top left, I have to pay bills. I've got short, medium-term savings down the bottom left. And then the far right, long-term retirement. Or we can kind of shift it up, and instead of kind of time-based goals, we can go to purpose or goal-based accounts. Got a savings account number 1 for a vacation, savings account number 2 for the new car, and then the new house. This reminds me of a conversation I had with my sister 20 years ago, and she was buying a new house, but she couldn't really afford the down payment, or she didn't think she could, and she was kind of struggling and trying to figure out what to do. And we were talking, and I said, well, do you have a savings account? She said, yeah, but I don't really want to touch that for the new house. I kind of paused and said, well, why do you have a savings account if you don't want to use it for a new house? What are you saving for? And she kind of paused and said, well, I guess I'm saving so I can give it to my kids so they can give it to their grandkids and right? We save to do stuff. We save for our goals. She bought the new house, still lives in it. She's super happy. And we save to do stuff that makes us happy. And yeah, we've got kind of these long-term obligations to take care of future Brian, but I kind of want to take care of Brian the next 3 to 6 months too. And Brian's going to go crazy if he doesn't, have a vacation or fun Friday night. So, this is mental budgeting. Set up these accounts, and then begin saving or moving money. Even if you don't have the money to move in right now, it's okay to put 0 in these buckets at times, as long as you have the account set up. Setting up the account is the first big hurdle. So I use these 4 to 5 accounts on a regular basis. Allows me to align my finances with different goals. Full disclosure, I do kind of a mix of the previous versions. If I have a specific new car, new house goal, yes, I'll have a specific savings account for that goal. But also have a specific short to medium term goal as well, or account that captures vacation, holiday, kind of within that savings. I guess I've been doing this long enough where my mind is comfortable seeing $1,000 in my short to medium term goal account, and recognizing some of that's vacation, some of that's holiday. But if your mind needs a little more structure, set up separate accounts. Set up, there's no harm in setting up a savings account for every goal or every goal you think you might have. It's not that, if you do it all at the same financial institution, same bank or credit union, not much harder for you to manage or track. The fees, if you go to the right institutions, will be minimal or zero, and it helps your brain keep everything straight. I'll skip over the next few slides where I kind of get into kind of the different risk and returns. But basically, we're looking at, the point is, forget the long-term accounts and the retirement accounts. What we're focused on is the checking and transaction account, the short to medium-term goals. That's where we're going to be paying for the fun stuff. And so in the short, medium-term goals, I keep these in savings accounts, maybe earning low interest rate. Maybe I buy a CD and lock it up for a little bit longer period of time. I've used CDs for specific goals. So if I want to buy a car in 2 years, or if I think I'm going to buy a new car, I will lock up a CD. And a CD is their certificate of deposit, basically a savings account that you cannot withdraw from until expiration. You actually can withdraw before expiration, but then you lose either the interest or you pay a penalty. But and these rates are, I apologize, I've not updated these. You can get a CD right now at 5%, and 5% annual return on a 6-month or 12-month CD. It's pretty good, right? And so I've used CDs for specific long-term goals. By long-term, I mean medium, 12, 18 months. I would not use a CD for holidays. I would not use a CD for vacation, but a new boat, a new car, new house, something where a little bit larger saving is necessary and might be 1, 2, 3, 10 years away. A CD can be a really nice structure, because now it's not just that you have a dedicated account set up for this fun stuff or these goals. You have kind of a restricted account, right? There's an even stronger governor in your head that if I take the money out, I lose the interest. And so a CD can be a great tool for saving for fun stuff that's a little bit away in the future. We talked about this when we talked about retirement, that's 5 or 7 years away. We do care about liquidity, right? I want this to be comfortably and confidently able to become cash. If I decide take a vacation sooner than I expected, or my car dies and I need to buy a new car sooner, I want some liquidity with minimal cost. I want some cash. I don't want to have to pay a lot to get cash. And I mention this because the next 2 or 3 slides get into stock market and things where there's greater risks, greater return potential, but might not be as liquid, might not be as easy to convert into cash. So I'll skip over these, but when we have things that are maybe longer term, I'm not going to skip over them, I guess. If you have a 10-year goal or saving for your children's education, it's maybe 18 years. Now liquidity is less of a priority. You can take some more risk, invest in different vehicles that maybe have more volatility, more uncertainty, such as individual stocks or mutual funds, but over the long term probably will have higher rates than a CD, a savings account, or certainly a checking account. I was given an example last night. In 2021, the stock market was up 25%. Great, right? Phenomenal, 25% return in 2021. 2022 is down 21%. Not great, right? So all that 25% that we got in 2021, we lost. Now we're up about 15% this year. That's volatility. That's uncertainty. I can handle that over 10 years. I can handle that uncertainty and that volatility over 10 years, 15 years, 18 years, or 20 years to retirement. I probably don't want to have that kind of uncertainty and volatility over the next 2 to 3 years as I'm saving for a new car or a vacation. And so you have to decide what your fun stuff is. Is your fun stuff very short term, less than 1 or 2 years? Or is your fun stuff a house where you can find investment vehicles or tools that are a little more risky? The returns are not as guaranteed, but over the long run are likely to produce higher returns. I say likely because nothing is guaranteed in the stock market. With a bank, those returns are pretty close to guaranteed. Stock market, no guarantees. And so if you invest longer term, get into some riskier things, be comfortable with a year like 2022, where we lost 21% of our value. And hope, cross your fingers, pay attention, and hope that that's just one outlier year and not beginning of a long-term trend. So far, that's the case. So let's move on to some challenges. I'm not going to go through all 12. In previous sessions, I've introduced 12 financial challenges for you. And most of these deal with managing your budget, managing your cash flow. Others less directly get to that. So here's 8 that kind of simple savings challenges. We talked about tracking every penny that you spend 1 or 2 months a year. I do it informally every month, but probably 3 or 4 times a year, I'll sit down and analyze and really get that tangible feel of how much I'm spending on coffee or habits that maybe I could change. I don't spend money after 8 p.m. unless I'm at a restaurant or a bar with friends or something. But I don't do online shopping or in-person shopping. I'm not going to spend money after 8 p.m. because that's when I get closer to the impulses. Same thing with large purchases. For me, if I'm going to spend anything over $100, except the grocery store, so new shoes or a plane ticket or whatever, I'm excited about it. I'm going to take a pause, take a beat, and wait 24 hours at least before buying. Sometimes I still buy it 24 hours later. Sometimes I realize I didn't really need those new shoes. But that kind of intentionality moves me away from impulse, moves me towards intentionality. We've talked about saving on the first day of the month. Tax refunds are tricky. Tax refunds, if you're getting a tax refund, we think tax refunds are good, but it's just a return of your money. It's not free money. Tax refunds are never free money. It's just a return of money that you lent to the government. You made the government a loan over the previous year, and the government's just paying you back the money that you gave it. For me, I don't want a refund. I want my money sooner. And if I get rid of my refund and I increase my monthly cash flow by $100, now I've got $100 that I can move towards the fun stuff. If I'm lending the government $100 a month, I have less money for the fun stuff. And so I can get rid of my refund, go talk to HR, change my withholding in my W-4, and get rid of my refund. The converse, I included that here for this session because we're talking about saving for the fun stuff. The converse maybe is if your behavior is such, or your mindset is such that when you get a windfall, whether that's $500 or $50,000, whatever a windfall means, an unexpected, moderately large sum of money, such as a tax refund, if you use that to pay off bad debt, if you use that to pay down your mortgage, if you use that to specifically invest a large sum into a college fund or retirement account, then maybe keeping the refund is good. If you don't trust yourself to increase your monthly income by 100 and use that $100 focused on your goals, then maybe keeping the refund. A lot of people, if you get that extra $100, maybe it doesn't seem as significant enough, and you're more likely to spend that on discretionary purchases that maybe aren't aligned with your goals. We want to get rid of that. And so if keeping it as the tax refund, it's kind of restricted, and you loaning money to the government prevents you from spending it unnecessarily, and you then use it effectively towards your goals, then maybe getting rid of it, or probably keeping the refund is good. But as we're thinking about financial planning for the fun stuff, I'm getting rid of the refund. I'm taking my extra $100 a month that I've been lending to the US government, and I'm putting it into one of my savings accounts for my fun stuff. Subscriptions, most of us have subscriptions we could cancel. Review your subscriptions also. Excuse me. Review the prices. A lot of subscriptions, you start at $9.99 and then 2 years later they're at $39.99. Subscription companies love doing that. I'm shocked every year when I see what Amazon Prime is now, right? And so I haven't canceled yet. I'm close. I'm close to canceling my Amazon Prime, but I haven't done it yet. I'll do it probably within the next 2 years. And but cancel or review your subscriptions regularly just to make sure you're getting your money's worth. About once a year, I do find a subscription that I'm just not using. So far, I'm still using Amazon Prime, but we're getting close. I told you about the January trip that my student used with her family. Maybe it's a week, maybe a month is too long, but trying to impose a little behavioral change in yourself with the explicit purpose of this helps me save towards the fun stuff. And then maybe the hardest challenge for most people that I introduce is 1 month a year, do not dine out. Nothing, no coffee, no fast food, no restaurants, no alcohol. If a month is way too challenging, either because of your mind, your behavior, your what you like, your happiness, or because of your work situation, your family situation, pick smaller periods, weekends or a week, or we're not dining out on Wednesdays or Fridays, maybe. Try to come up with little challenges that impose a little restraint on you. But as we're thinking about fun stuff, let's make saving a game, right? Saving doesn't have to be painful. It's always going to feel like some kind of sacrifice. We get our paycheck, we want to enjoy it. Part of us wants to enjoy it. But there's a little governor in our brain that says, okay, we can't enjoy all of this. We have to allocate some of this money towards different purposes. So after saving that $25 in the first day of the month, set another goal to save even more, whatever it is. Maybe you set a goal of double the 25 and it's 50. And maybe you manage to save 150 instead of just the 50. I'm a big fan of taking that extra, that anya, the bonus, the extra that you saved, and doing something nice with it. Right? So your goal is to save 50. Your goal was not to save 150. Take that extra 100 and go out to dinner, go to a spa, whatever makes you happy, right? Or at least think about it. Look at that 150 and say, okay, would I be happier going out to dinner, going to the spa, or just pouring this into my new car account? And if you make it a game, and games like these are great with children too. Children don't know any better, but they love that. Most of them love that kind of sensation of saving for a goal, saving for a purpose, and then achieving it, right? See, it feels like a victory when whatever you're saving for, whether it's new shoes or, for me in the day, one of the first things I saved for was a boombox, and mowing lawns and working my tail off, 13, 14-year-old, whatever I was, 12-year-old maybe. Getting a new boombox was the thing for me, and I thought I was so cool when I went out and bought my new Sanyo boombox. Truth is, I probably wasn't that cool, but I felt it, and it was fun, and it was a game, and saving was fun, and if you can create these little challenges, reward yourself, right? We set these goals. I've got a goal of $50. My goal wasn't $150. Let's have fun with that extra. An alternative I've used as my values and my priorities maybe changed. It's not so much about the boombox anymore. It's about other things. And a little governor that I like to use is when I make purchases over a certain amount, I will immediately set aside half of that, at least, if not all of it, to give to charity. So when I list my goals for the year, giving money to charity different charities is on my list of goals. Sometimes when I get to November, December, and I haven't given money to charity and my bank account's looking a little lean because of the holidays or other stuff, I'm not able to give as much as I wanted to at the beginning of the year. But if I prioritize it kind of throughout the year, whether with a specific savings account or with a gimmick like this, where if I spend $200 on new clothes or airplane ticket or whatever, I'm going to take some of that and put it into my charity account, either set aside an account or actually give it at the moment. Sometimes I will donate immediately. Usually I don't, but I'll pool it because it's a goal of mine. Now, you don't have to do this for charity. You can change the word charity to fishing boat, right? And is when you indulge a little bit, for me getting new clothes or new shoes, maybe that's indulgence, then train yourself or prepare yourself to say, okay, let's pair this indulgence with some responsibility. And it's not sacrifice, it's this other goal is important to me too. I want new shoes and I want to give money to charity. How can I do both? Well, if I pair them, that helps my brain think about these as parallel or complementary goals. Not really, but again, our minds are wacky. If we can trick them, then that maybe frees up some things we can do. Maybe the most important challenge out of my list of 12 and kind of what we've talked about throughout this session, these series, is setting goals. Everything starts with goals. Set 5 financial goals, set 10 financial goals if you can. For the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, or whatever. You pick your time horizons. If I was a 20-year-old student, I would probably pick 1, 3, and 5. If I'm a 30 or 40-year professional, maybe 1, 5, and 10. Whatever your goals are, whatever your situation, your family, find goals, pick 5 different time periods and set goals. You're going to have specific goals in the 1-year time frame, such as spend less on groceries or reduce my subscriptions. The longer term, your goals are going to be less specific, more generic. Save more for retirement over the 10 years or whatever. The key about all of this is improving habits, improving behaviors, and aligning habits and behaviors with our goals, whatever our goals are. And as we're thinking about goals, include the fun stuff. A new car, vacation, or a fun Saturday night, those are goals. If those are important to you, if that's why you work, if that's where you get your happiness from, those are financial goals. We choose these goals because they make our lives better. I choose to save for retirement because that makes my life better too, or I think it will. I hope it will. I choose to save for giving a little to charity because that aligns with my values, and I think that makes my life better. I know it does. But I also choose to save for vacations because that makes my life better too. And so those are my goals. And I set my goals. I have boring, unsexy financial goals. I have more exciting personal goals that require financial planning. And so those are financial goals too. Only you know what your goals and activities make you happy, lead to your happiness, make your lives better. Set your goals, identify your goals, align with that. So we started off by talking about kind of beginning with savings that leads to investing, ownership, wealth. But it's simpler. Savings is the starting point for happiness. And my mindset again is this, that indulgence is good, impulse is bad. I think we can all think of situations where impulses are really bad. When we're talking about money, it's kind of a continuum. You've made some impulse purchases at the grocery store or convenience store that were probably pretty fun, pretty good, right? Trying those new chips or that new soda. But we're getting, if all we do is impulse and have larger ticket, other dollar ticket impulses, then we're maybe compromising some of our more important or more valued goals. Savings, in this context, is the starting point for happiness. Indulgence, we don't want to live without it. Prioritize indulgence, prioritize that happiness, prioritize comfort, satisfaction, fulfillment, whatever you want to call it, prioritize it. And the key to achieving it is probably to avoid impulses from a financial planning perspective. Same thing, we set goals, we analyze reality, we create our plan, execute that plan, track our progress. We're going to get off track either because of our own mistakes or because situations change or because we got a raise and we didn't need to save as much, or whatever the changes that are going to be. So then we'll adjust the plan. Repeat, revise, enjoy. We do this with the boring stuff. Let's do it with the fun stuff too. We're thinking about quotes and inspiration. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is mere tenacity. And wealth is largely the result of habit. The fun stuff is largely the result of habit too, right? If you think about what you want to achieve in the future, what you want to do, vacation, new car, home improvements, all those fun things, those start with planning, starts with a habit, and making it happen. That's just tenacity. That's it for today for the fun stuff. 13 out of 15 done. We'll be back here next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, for Investing 101 on Tuesday. We do whole semester-long courses on investing, so trying to narrow it down to 45 minutes. I actually can do it, can get it started, but there's a whole lot more to it. But we'll get started. And the framework will be basically, you want to invest, but you've never invested. How do you get started, and how do you keep going? And So we'll talk about that. And then on Wednesday, we'll conclude with navigating the impacts of inflation, turbulent, uncertain economic times. Hope to see some of you back then. I'm Brian Bolton. Hope to hear from some of you, either in the short term or the long term. Brian.Bolton, reach out to me and we'll talk about your goals, your plans, and figure out ways to help you get to both the not so fun stuff and absolutely the fun stuff. Thanks for joining. I'll stop sharing and I will stop recording.